Hello, how are we? Well, I guess we should introduce, well, let's tell you basically what this is, first of all. We just want to, let me look at the camera, just want to say thank you guys basically for registering and coming onto our platform to listen to us talk. This is for first responders, people of, not just first responders, pretty much for everybody, but we want to highlight the first responders. First of all, thank you for your service, for everything that you do. I'm Evantz Saint-Gerard, real estate agent here at Keller Realty Landmark.
Anthony Russo, real estate attorney.
And Joe Castagna from Contour Mortgage.
All right, so we're gonna get the ball rolling. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions. I'm waiting for people to file in. This is all about real estate, about whether you're buying, selling, or investing, or whatever the case may be. One first thing I would say is pretty much figure out what you want to do. You have a conversation with your realtor and figure out basically what the game plan is. You have that conversation, put everything out there on the table, and just tell your realtor what you're looking to do, what your dreams are, what your hopes are. We need to know everything, as much information as possible. The more you can tell us, which is all of us, the better we can, help you, service you. So I'm looking to see if there's any questions. I see a few people logging into our page right now. Feel free to leave questions in the chat, and I'm going to go with Joe. You want to talk about basically the mortgage process, what people can expect right now?
Sure. So really we categorize first responders at Contour Mortgage as first responders, teachers, veterans, anybody in the healthcare profession. We give everybody the same discounts, and you fall into that bracket. But we could do any type of loan at Contour Mortgage. The first thing you want to do is get a pre-approval, and that's just based on your credit score, your income, and how much money you're looking to put down. And we were talking earlier, we could do any state that you're looking to purchase in. So if you're looking to buy a investment property, if you're looking to buy a retirement home, if you're looking to buy a second home, we could do any state that you're looking to purchase in. There are quite a number of programs out there. For the discounted rates, there's two programs that we work with. It's a first-time homebuyer program that's only in the state of New York. And then we have a community lending program, which is just based on where the property is located. And that rate could be as much as 0.5% lower than the traditional conventional loan.
Joe, when you say first time buyer, what's considered a first time buyer, or who's considered a first time buyer at this point?
Sure. Somebody that's never owned a home before, or somebody that's owned a home but hasn't been on a title in the last 3 years.
Okay.
And this is a government agency program anywhere in the state of New York. Not too many lenders participate in it. Contour Mortgage is one of the lenders that offers this program.
All right, so we want to talk about basically when they're sitting down with you, they're going through the consultation phase. Normally, if you're sitting down with a realtor, you go through the consultation phase, we find out what your wants are, what your needs are, who's involved in the situation, with whether you're buying or selling, or you're doing both at the same time, or you're considering buying another property in another state. If you're doing in another state, I always suggest to my clients, if you're selling here and you're moving to another state, let us know who the other agent is on the other side, because it's very important. What happens in New York is kind of different basically in other states. So people close differently in other states. And here in New York, I'll let Anthony tell you about the on and about dates, basically when it comes to closings. It's very crucial that we know what's going on, what your other plans are, so we can help you and make sure that everything is cohesive. Anthony, you want to talk from that part?
Sure. Hi again. My name is Anthony W. Russo. I'm in Garden City. I'm a real estate attorney. I've been doing this about 33 years. So my practice is New York based. I'm admitted in New York and Connecticut. So if you have out-of-state needs, I can't help you directly, but I can guide you and put you in the hands of someone that can. But as Evan said, it's important that you kind of tell your realtor, your attorney, or whatever team you're working with, your banker, what your plans are, what you really want out of the transaction, where you want to go, what your timeline is, very crucial, because that timeline is critical in terms of listing your home or finding a home for you, in terms of applying for a mortgage, getting approved, keeping an interest rate locked, getting it locked,
Yes.
and how long it stays locked. And most importantly, for an attorney, it's important when we lay out a contract time frame, how long we go into contract, how long to close, how long of a window Maybe you get to stay in the home after closing if need be. It's called a holdover. A lot of people don't like it, but it's common in New York practice that we have that in a contract where someone who sells a home has a limited amount of time, if need be, to stay over after the closing to get their belongings out, to coordinate a move, to get something out of state to transition to and have the movers pick up their belongings. So it's generally about a 5-day window that we sometimes work into a contract, but we all need to know what your plans are and what your desires are so we can accommodate that. And that's crucial, as I said, in the contract, the real estate, the listing, the mortgage, the rate. There's so many pieces, and that communication is vital.
I'm gonna harp on this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry in advance. I'm just letting you know. Your team is very crucial basically to make this all cohesive and less stress for you. So we need to know what's going on. So put everything on the table. If you're buying, you're selling, you're investing, whatever the case may be, put everything on the table. Let us know what the situations are. If situations change, if you're not in agreement, basically, let's say you're a married couple, you're not in agreement, let us know what's going on. That way we can come to an understanding. And then basically if there's a communication between any party, we can, dial in and basically talk more about here's what the options are. And then that way we can facilitate, all right, here's the options. This is what we can do, A, B, or C, but we can't do that without having communication, open communication with you. Did you want to talk about the mortgage aspect?
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, all we really care about on the initial consultation is the credit score, the income, how much money you're looking to put down. Then we'll go over all the numbers to make sure not only are you pre-approved, but you're comfortable with the payment and how much money is needed in the transaction. Because I could tell somebody they're approved for $800,000 mortgage, and when I tell them what the payment is, taxes, insurance, principal, and interest, they're like, "Whoa, I don't want to spend that much money." So it's very important to go over all the numbers.
Could you go over, like, if somebody's selling their home, sometimes people are selling homes, they don't need to sell the home first basically in order to purchase the next home, but sometimes they're not sure yet.
Right.
Let's go over that for.
Right, so in that type of scenario, if you own a home right now and there's a mortgage on the house, I could tell you if you're approved to purchase another home without selling that home, which is the best scenario, because then you have the flexibility where if you can't sell in time and you want to get in before you sell, or let's say you want to buy a house, move in and fix it up before you sell the other house, the best scenario is that you could carry both mortgages.
If you want to.
If you want to. And another thing that we do a lot, if the house is not for sale, it's not on the market, we could give you rental income to offset that mortgage payment. But once you list that house for sale and it's on the market, we can't use the rental income. So this is another important reason to have a consultation before you enter into a contract, so you know what direction you're going to go in.
Legally, basically, is there anything they need to know about?
Yeah,
that?
I mean, talking about timing, as I touched upon, and we're all speaking about timing is crucial with the law and the legal process, the contract process. Most states are not attorney states, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
New York is an attorney state, meaning you have to be represented by an attorney to buy, to sell. The bank is represented by an attorney when they lend. The title company has an attorney as underwriting counsel. So you have at least 4 different attorneys in the process. And that's part of the reason why New York is going to be more complex in buying and selling, more certainly lengthier, it takes a little longer. And most importantly, New York uses something called an on or about date. So if someone comes to me and they want to sell their house or someone wants to buy a house, the contract's going to have a 30-day window for them to buy, a 30-day window for them to close, excuse me. Meaning that if they're going to contract today, April 16th, the contract may say on or about June 1st, meaning between June 1st and July 1st. So remember, that seller knows that window, that buyer knows that window, and everyone works within that window to kind of schedule the closing. The bank has to be ready, the title company has to be ready, the buyer has to be ready, the seller has to be ready to get out. So there's a lot in the works there, and New York makes that very complicated. And it's just a lot of pieces. And a lot of times when people are selling and then want to buy something out of state, it's very hard to structure those two back to back, so there's no gap.
Yeah.
So you do need, once again, an experienced team, a quality team that's going to give you the right information, guide you properly. And I do it quite often where someone sells and then they find something else to buy along the way, and we match up the dates and things go nice and smoothly, especially with that little bit of holdover. If not, it's fraught with peril because you might be out of a home, you have to sell. The buyer's waiting. If you delay too long, the buyer may not have the
Might
rate
not
or be able
qualify,
to
yeah.
close anymore. So it's a very convoluted situation. Again, the lawyers are part of it. New York is a, you know, an attorney state, as I said, and it's an on or about state, which has that 30-day window. So a lot of times when people are buying out of state, right, they're selling their home here and buying out of state, they'll have trouble getting a house out of state because the out of state properties want to know that you have a date certain for closing in New York,
Yeah.
and that really doesn't exist. So it's a tough thing to match up. But again, with the proper team, it can be structured properly.
This is why I mentioned before, the communication is very crucial. So if you're in that case, you're buying something in another state and you're buying it, you know, to possibly live in, you have to let your agent that's working with you here, let them know what's going on, what you're doing, if you're purchasing something, if you're putting money down, or what the situation is. That way we can have a dialogue with the other agent on the other side to help you secure that deal. And your attorney, if there's an attorney state, your attorney here can talk to the attorney on the other side as well. If you're here in New York and you're buying, you're moving from Queens going to Brooklyn or the other way around, or somewhere in Long Island, you probably hire one attorney, hopefully it's this guy,
Mhm.
and, you know, he'll walk you through the process throughout the buying and selling process. And like he mentioned before, you want to, depending on what your wishes are, if you're a seller, you want to sell the property, you want to, you know, enough time basically to move your stuff out and then go into the next property. You have your realtor basically and your attorney basically work that out for you. And your lender basically, if you have a lender basically, you need extra money to purchase the next property. Your lender, you know, we're all in communication with each other. So as long as you're open and honest with us, we can, you know, help facilitate it, whatever your wishes are, but we need to have that open dialogue with you.
I would always tell my buyers to get an attorney, even if it's in a state that doesn't need an attorney. Like I'm gonna just give you an example. I had a client of mine recently from New York looking to buy in New Jersey. You don't need an attorney in New Jersey. I told him, look, just get yourself an attorney. You always want to protect yourself. It's always worth it to get an attorney. Sure enough, he found the house he wanted to make an offer on. It turns out there's a tenant in the house. Their lease is not over until October. And the house is in an LLC. And they wanted this guy to sign a contract with for $920 purchase price, 20% down, and they wanted him to sign a contract with the $180,000 signing at the contract. So imagine that you got a tenant that's not getting out
Yeah.
until October, and you got 180 sitting in escrow. How you getting that money back?
Good luck.
So what's your piece of
I
advice?
mean, listen, I don't mean to laugh, but
No.
look, you're buying a house. I mean, I'm not gonna try to put Anthony on the spot, but let's say the fee is $1,500, $2,000, depending upon the transaction, right? You're buying a house. You got to protect yourself.
And most times, if I may, with first responders, a lot of people that work for especially the police department, they'll get vouchers from their union. They'll be asked to use a union attorney, which certainly their right to do.
Yes.
I do get a lot of people that feel better represented if they go outside of that, and they bring that voucher to someone like me, and we use that towards the price so that they get that reimbursement from the
I'm
state
glad
or-
you brought that
so the
up.
city. But it's just another factor, especially for first responders. You know, we work with them, we discount it, and we work with them when they have their voucher system as well.
Just
So,
going
good
back on the
point.
legal part, basically, a lot of people like to use different attorneys for all kinds of stuff. I'll make this very easy. Sorry, I'm gonna be blunt. I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn. So, if you have any situation in your body, you're going to the hospital, you're not going to the dentist for your open heart surgery. For your foot, you're not going to your dentist. I mean, whatever it is, basically, you're going to a specialist for that. I would suggest if you're purchasing, selling, whatever you're doing, you're gonna get legal, somebody to do your legal process, get someone who specializes in real estate, someone that does it day in and day out. You have other people who can do it, yes, but basically that's not their 100, they're not 100% into it. They might be a trial attorney, they might do accidents and whatnot, basically. They might not have time basically to look at your contract to make sure that you're not signing something that might, you know, cost you money or basically just you'll get stuck with something. So you want to make sure you're working with somebody who's legally, who does everything basically on the books, and they know that basically they've seen contracts, New York contracts before. They know what to read and what not to. I'm like, yeah, take this out. This does, just to protect your clients. Is there anything you want to share?
Yeah, no, that's very important. Again, whether it's me or someone else, you want someone who specializes in real estate, just like you want a realtor who specializes in sales advice or in that
Yeah.
area, or a mortgage company that works with your type of mortgage or can help you with programs like Joe was speaking about. It happens quite often. And when, when you're doing it so long like me, I mean, I have a way that I can negotiate a contract. There's things I can get that most times are routine that another attorney is going to agree to. And those little protections are invaluable to you. You may not ever need them, and I hope you don't, but having those protections, having that experience really goes a long way, I must say. So whoever you use, hopefully they're experienced and can help you and make sure, listen, if there's going to be bumps along the road, we want to get you to that finish line as smoothly as possible.
All right, one other thing I want to say to people, whichever direction you're going, it's 2025 right now at the time of this recording. We have these devices, we all have them, whether you have an iPhone or you have a Google phone. Do your research basically whoever you want to work with, basically. We have Google, we have Yelp, we have Zillow, we have all kinds of things. Do your research. Talk to a professional you trust. If you need a recommendation, you call Anthony, I need a realtor. You call Joe, I need an attorney. You call me, hey, I need both.
Yeah.
Or better yet, hey, Evans, I'm planning to move to Florida. I want to go to blah, blah, blah. Do you know anybody that works in that area? If I don't work that area, I work with a lot of agents throughout the country.
Yeah.
I can point you in the right direction, and you do your research with that person and see if you're comfortable with them. And with me, basically, I want to make sure I'm giving you, the best information possible to give you options, and then I help you basically pick what works best for you and your family. Because not everything that he does is going to be the same that I do. Like, everybody's individual, so I want to make sure that when we're talking, whether it's me or my business partner or anybody on our team, we're having a conversation with you. We want to find out. We're going to ask you a lot of questions, and we're not trying to be nosy, but we are being nosy because we need to know all this information in order to help you. So we're going to ask you detailed questions to find out everything about you and your family and what your wants and needs are, so we can make sure that, okay, great, we have all the information. This is what we need to do. We have A, B, or C. And you pick whichever works best for you and your family. Again, do your research, ask for references. And with me and our team, we don't have a problem, basically. If you have questions about stuff and you want to talk to another client, past client or previous client, basically, that going through the same situation that you're going through, we don't have a problem basically recommending, hey, talk to this client, talk to that client, and do it from there. Anything you want to share?
I would say, does anybody have any specific questions or a topic that they want to go over?
Yeah, there's a few of you in the room right now, so I know that a few of you are looking to buy. I think a few people mentioned that they were looking to possibly purchase their first home or probably the second home. Put your questions in the chat. Go ahead, Anthony.
If I may, yeah, I'll get people, like I had someone yesterday call me about a property in Florida. I'm not admitted in Florida, but they sent me the contract. I looked at it, I'm familiar with it, to say it was a standard form. If they had questions, I can give them to someone in Florida. They were comfortable with it, and the realtors there handle it. But what I'm saying is, while I may not be admitted in Florida, people contact us, use us as a resource to help them and guide them, and find them someone, or at least tell them and put them in the right direction, so they know whether they should have an attorney. Like you mentioned, the deal in Jersey.
So let me ask you this, Anthony, if you don't mind. This would be my concern as a buyer. So let's say I'm buying a house in Florida. I don't need an attorney.
Right.
And most of the times the title company is the settlement company.
Right.
How do you ensure that the title is clear of any liens or judgments when you're relying on the settlement company to settle the loan?
Well, when they're settling the loan, they're handling the monies and the disbursements of it. So they certainly are wearing multiple hats. So could they be tempted to do something unethical or improper? Possibly. It could happen up here too, even though we're independent. The best part about it is at the closing, you're going to get a title insurance policy, and that policy is going to protect you as a buyer, that there are no liens. And as long as you look in it and it says there's no other liens or anything that's a encumbrance to title. So, you need to know that. You need to look at that. If someone called me, I would look at that for them and tell them what to look for, so that they know they're leaving that closing, they paid that money, and they have a title policy that will protect them. The contract would give them that right and make sure they get a title policy. So there's a lot of ways to ensure that that's done properly.
So that title policy is almost saying that there's a clean bill of health on this property.
Correct.
And if something was to pop up down the road, you would go after that title company.
Correct.
Okay,
Um,
fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking to see if we have any questions. Nothing coming up so far. If you have a question, raise your hand or basically just put it in the chat. If not, we'll
I have
keep
one more if you
Go ahead,
don't.
go for it.
So we talk about a team, we work together on deals sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes not. We all have different
Yeah.
partners, but the key is that, to me, I'm doing this 30-something years, the value is finding people like the three of us who
Yes.
will go above and beyond.
Yeah.
So Evans had a client that we spoke to, I think it was last Sunday morning
Yes,
at 8 a.m. to help him through a process. Joe and I have had transactions where we had problems with other banks, and Joe stepped in. We've had problems with banks where we had deadlines, things came up in a transaction we didn't expect. We needed to rush things at certain points and navigate through those muddy waters, and we all stand up, we all take our calls, we all don't run away from those problems. And that is what I think people need to look for, whether it's us or someone else. And whether it's in New York or another state, I mean, Joe can do all over. Evans has reach all over as well. I mean, I'm limited, but I have contacts. But nonetheless, you need to find people like that who are going to, make sure they're there for you. First responders, especially, everything that everyone's gone through, and to make sure everything's protected. It is a big purchase, as Joe said. I try to explain that to clients all the time. You're spending $500, $600, $800,000. Probably one of your biggest purchases in your lifetime. To have a good lawyer, a good banker that's going to take care of your realtor, is going to guide you
Yeah.
properly, right? I mean, all of you, we all have customers that'll call us, even if I don't have the deal, you don't have the deal,
Yeah.
you'll still speak to them and give them advice.
exactly.
And that's what we as a team bring, and that's what we,
I'm-
we urge you to look for, whether it's us or
I'm
someone else.
I'm glad you brought that up, because there's been times where people reach out to me, they went a different direction.
Right.
I'm always keep a line of communication open with everybody. So if you decide to go a different route with somebody else, that's fine. If
Mhm.
you're not feeling comfortable with asking them questions, you reach out to me. Legally, I'm not supposed to interfere, but if you reach out to me, you're asking me questions, I'm like, all right, you might want to do this, and these are your options and whatnot. Talk to whoever you hire, basically, they should be able to walk you through that. The same thing with these gentlemen, like he said also, I call them on a Sunday, which I try not to, but I call them on a Sunday. Hey, look, I have this person, they're going through a situation. Without giving away too much, there's a legal situation, there's probate will trust the state issue happening with there, and then we're trying to explain to him basically how to maneuver basically to get what he needs to do to actually get through the process basically of where he needs to be. So we suggested basically here's some options for him, and he's hopefully, knock on wood, he should be on close to where he's looking to do, because the process of it does take a long time. But like I said, these things are not difficult. They might seem far-fetched sometimes, but basically we go through all this stuff on a regular basis. So whatever you're going through, don't think that basically it's only happening to you. Just ask us the questions, whatever the questions are, and we'll try and guide you the best we can. I'm going to be honest with myself and with you guys. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to reach out to him. I'm going to reach out to him. I have, people all over my office that I can reach out to. I'll get you the answer, basically. If I don't know it myself, I will find it for you.
But the odds are, I'm gonna speak for myself. I'm doing this 23 years. Contour Mortgage has been in business for 30 years. You could imagine the amount of transactions that were done in all those years. Anthony said he's been practicing for 30, how many
30
years?
plus, let's leave it at that.
And he still has his hair. So that's fantastic.
I guess I should say how long I've been doing this also, about 13 years.
My point is, and I think you'll appreciate it, there hasn't really been one situation that we haven't come across that we're not gonna be able to navigate around it, is my point. And look, just the other day, a person says to me, Joe, how do you compete with the big banks? And I looked at the guy and I basically said, they're not my competition. And he says, what do you mean? Because obviously they're just talking about the interest rate. But let's just take, for example, Evans gets a pre-approval on a property he's selling from a realtor, and the pre-approval is from TD Bank.
I was gonna say, don't mention the name of the other banks, but
A big
No,
bank.
no,
a
no.
big bank.
My point is a big bank or a credit union.
Right.
And Evans knows that the house has a bathroom in the basement that's not legal. And he knows that the big banks are gonna have a problem with
Yep.
that. And my point is this, that we can maneuver And our name is well known in Long Island and New York because the realtors know they could call us up and there's a contact person. Try to contact somebody at Teachers Federal Credit Union. Anthony and Evans would attest if they have a client going through some of these big banks. Who do you talk to?
I try to, based on the conversation, I always suggest basically pick a local bank, someone in here, stay away from the internet banks, depending if you're purchasing, because like if I'm a listing agent, I'm looking at where the pre-approval comes from, and most likely I'm not going to accept that, or I'm going to talk to my client. Here's my reservations about going with this offer. This is my experience that I've had with this bank before. So I'm telling you what you decide to do, whether you want to accept it or not. I'm just telling you this is my feedback when working with them and vice versa. You want to share?
Yeah, no, two things. Out-of-state banks, especially, anything wrong with them, but they're not really familiar with the New York State process. So
Yes.
having a loan officer reps here in New York, someone you could speak to is invaluable. Never mind someone who knows New York. I'm also going to put you a little bit on the spot, Joe. People talk about these, you mentioned these big banks, and if there's a problem, let's say there's a bathroom in the basement that's not permitted, if they go to this big bank, it's not going to work. 100% correct.
Mhm.
But let me ask you this: people say, "Well, listen, I'll go to your bank. You can get it done." But wait, does that cost me more?
No question.
Not at all.
Not at all.
I mean, I know the answer. You tell me, please.
No, look, this is a valid question. It doesn't cost the people more money. Contour Mortgage doesn't care about the C of O, and we don't care about municipalities. But that's why I always say you need an attorney, because Anthony will tell you what the pros and cons are of purchasing the house without the C of O. If you have a top that was added to the house and 1,000 square foot was added to the house, you're gonna want to know
Yeah.
what you have to do to legalize that and what the ramifications are gonna be on your property
Sure.
taxes.
Sure.
So,
Could I just mention
so it
something?
comes with limits, but my point is, that's why you always need an attorney.
If I may,
Uh,
I've seen it where I go to the table and I see the rates on these deals with Contour or banks like yours that, smaller banks, let's say, not these big cookie cutter ones, and the rates are more competitive.
Very
So
competitive.
you may be, not, you don't care about that CO for that bathroom, but yet the borrower's not paying a premium in a sense for that. And that's important because people, I think, sometimes worry that they're going to someone other than a traditional bank and they're gonna pay a premium for that. And many times, most times you could speak, it's not the case.
And look, it also comes with a cost. Some people will go to the closing with a rate, and then you look at the closing cost and you see they're being charged 2 or 3 points to get that rate. So it's not only the interest rate, it's how much are you paying for that rate.
I just wanted to go back for, you mentioned the CFOs and stuff like that. When you're working with a buyer's agent, you have to hire a buyer's agent pretty much throughout the country. You hire a buyer's agent, they'll go through a process, they'll do a consultation with you. One of the questions we'll ask is basically what's your your no-goes and, deal breakers basically. So once we find that out, if we find a house that basically you select and you're interested in, you want to put an offer in, I'm going to ask all kinds of questions. If I'm the buyer's agent, I'm asking questions to the listing agent. Look, I've noticed that basically this looks like an extension. Do you have a CFO? I'll be asking those questions. Whoever you hire, basically, your buyer's agent should be asking those questions on your behalf. If there's an extension, there's an extra bathroom in the basement, or whatever the case may be, they'll be asking those questions. So you'll know that in advance before deciding if you're going to put your offer or not. And if you do decide, you talk to your legal counsel. They'll tell you basically the pros and cons and whatnot. And then obviously we talk to the bank to see if this can be an issue or not. So whatever it is, it is. I wanted to go back because this is about first responders and whatnot. So we're answering questions for everybody. But for first responders, what specific programs are out there are available that they can take advantage of or should be asking?
So it's not so much the programs, it's going to be what we do for the first responder, teachers, veterans. We normally waive our application processing and underwriting fee. It's about $1,900. But the main thing is at Contour, we could do any type of loan. I mentioned the 2 loans, the first time home buyer and the community lending, because those are 2 programs that if the person qualifies for, these are below market rates. And we're talking about a 6.25% interest rate with no points. So I'm gonna say that's below market because right now the average conventional loan is around 6.75%.
Could you dig deeper into the community lending? Because I don't know if everybody knows what that is.
Sure.
What
So,
that entails.
so the community lending is anywhere in the United States. It goes by the geographical location of the property. So right here in our immediate area, Baldwin, Freeport, Laurelton. It's just gonna depend on where the property is located. That's really the main
Mhm.
focus of the program. And once I have an address, I could tell you if it fits into that program.
All right, looking to see if we have any questions. I'm encouraging you, this is interactive, so you gotta give us some questions so we can answer them. We don't know
Any
where you're
areas
at.
you want us to
There's,
talk
there's
about?
just a lot of topics to go
Yeah.
over, but if you have questions, it could steer
gonna-
us into the
I'm gonna-
right area of interest for you.
I'm gonna call people out at this point. So, Doyle, what questions do you have? You wanna come off mute and then ask a question, or do you wanna put it in the chat? Well, he's deciding that. Franz, what about you?
Franz,
Franz? Judy?
I believe Franz is a contact of mine.
Yes, I think we both have them. All right. While you guys are thinking of what your questions are, stuff I wanted to talk about, basically, people are thinking about buying their next home or their forever home or whatever it is. I always say, do your research. Depending where you are in life, if the kids are out of the house or you're planning, basically, I'm gonna buy another property in another state. That's gonna be our our home, basically. We're gonna do our Airbnb or whatever we're gonna do with it. And then we're gonna take the money that we sold the property here and we're gonna travel around the world since the kids are out and we're empty nesters now. And that's what you wanna do. Definitely let's have a conversation and figure out how we can make that happen. Now you gotta figure out the location. Where are you comfortable with? What's your lifestyle? What's your budget? You have to look at all these things. When these are things that we're going to go into, we'll have conversations about just to see, all right, what makes sense for you. We'll give you some options and you'll talk to the other agents in those areas. What I always suggest for people to do is pretty much, if you have a weekend travel, I would suggest do it on a weekend. You and your spouse or family members, you go that weekend, go visit agent and such, and give them a tour. They'll give you a tour basically of the specific areas. And if you have an idea, if you want to buy a house, a condo, or whatever it is, they'll show you around, basically get you an idea. I also have a video series called Your Next Move. It's on our website. It's mynyhomesales.com. On there, basically, you'll see we did about, I want to say close to 58 videos where I interview agents in other states. So if you are contemplating, I want to move, I want to leave New York or wherever you're watching this from, you want to leave here and you want to go elsewhere, where should I go? That video series is specifically answers those questions where I interview agents, basically, why do people come here? What's the big best kept secret, which is not a secret anymore since you guys are watching it, why they're moving, why are people moving here? Basically, look, I'm a foodie, I like to eat, so basically wherever I'm moving to, I got to make sure the food is on point. I want to make sure, there's activities to do, a lot. Since COVID, I started this series since COVID, a lot of people, pretty much most of the interviews that I did, a lot of people kept saying a lot of the same things, that there's a lot of outdoors things. People don't want to stay inside watching TV anymore. They want to go outside and be more active. I encourage you all to do that as well if you can. Go outside, just start walking around, stretch a little. You're gonna start seeing all kinds of stuff, what your do's and don'ts in your life and whatnot. Yeah, I would say do your research, have the conversation, do your research, figure out basically where you want to be. If you're buying it as investment, we can do some calculations of where you want to go. It's a place that I would probably say maybe you want to go to a college town, buy a property. Actually, let me go back. For those of you who have kids, this idea came to me, the gentleman that gave me these ideas in the other room right now. He suggested basically the scenario was pretty much their kid is going to college. They're purchasing a property where the kid is located for college. And I don't know how much dorm cost nowadays, but I know they're not cheap. So if you wanted to buy an off-campus property, you'll find something that made sense for you. You did your calculations and they're like, great, my kid's gonna live here. We're also gonna have other students living here as well. So with that being said, I'm teaching my kid to be a landlord. They also have a property. If they want it after they finish graduating, that property could be for investment. It could be an investment for them or for you. You hand that off to them. If they decide they want to stay there, that's their property. If they choose they want to spread their wings and go somewhere else. They want to get married and have kids and, build their own family. You still have that property. You can use it for whatever you want. If you want to keep it as a, just income producing, basically, it's still producing you income, and then you can probably buy another property somewhere else and have a couple of doors, basically, any location that you want. But obviously, you pick, an area that makes sense for you. And pretty much where you're going to get your money back.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a little off topic of that, but I'm going to say, a lot of times people will say with this world of the internet that, listen, I can look on the internet and see something on Zillow. I
Yeah.
don't need you, Joe. I can get a loan through the website. Again, I get it. I'm not old fashioned in that regard. I get the power of that information, but reality is so different. Finding a home on Zillow, not knowing the details, not knowing the underlying conditions, not knowing if there's HOA or flood insurance or other issues.
Yes.
Not you just don't have that personal involvement.
You need a personal
I
touch.
mean, you're countrywide, and so is
Yeah.
Joe, different than me, but that's invaluable. Same thing, being able to do a loan and giving them the nuances of whether there's flood insurance needed, whether there's PMI, purchase money mortgage, mortgage insurance required, things like that. So, it sounds simple and easy. You get out and you see these places, and
Yeah.
everything's available, but doing it the right way. I think I've stressed that many times tonight.
Say it again.
Doing things the right way is invaluable. That's how I built my practice. I
Same.
take no shortcuts. I go through the contract.
Sure.
It's all me, and I make sure you're protected along the way. Certainly, there's risk in any transaction, but my job is to minimize the risk. And the same thing, finding a
Yeah.
property, minimizing the risk, making sure it's what the client needs, making sure the loan is right for that client, whether they have, retirement income or pension income, whether that's usable, whether they want to
Yes,
rely on that.
yes.
Those are all factors that go into it. And a computer online, just punching in the numbers, is
Yeah.
not going to get you
They're
that.
not,
So,
they're not gonna get, the
not to
computer.
oversell, but it's
No,
important.
I love what you just said. The computer, I love computers. I'm a tech guy. If you guys see what over here on the screen right now, I got computers everywhere. I love my tech. There's so much tech can do, but like he said, the tech is not gonna ask you, personal questions to find out what your needs and wants are. They're gonna put the numbers in and pretty much, all right, based on your numbers, boom, this is what it is. But if you have a family situation where it's very, very sensitive, computer's not gonna be able to give you that information. Like, hey, you know what, you're looking in this area, but maybe you might consider this place based on what you said you're looking for. This location, this area basically might be better suited for you, or price wise, this might be best for you. But these are conversations you'll have when you have a human back and forth with you.
And one last thing, I get a lot of times of people come to me and say, listen, I'm going to sell my house. I want to do it on my own. They think they're saving money that way. One, I know they're not. Two, they're not maximizing the potential income or the exposure of that house. That's for you to speak to. But more importantly, they don't have the framework set up. They didn't vet the buyer. They don't know if the buyer has the funds, if the buyer has a pre-approval. There's so much lacking, and then they come to me and the deal's not structured. So the deal's not structured right. So again, there's really no shortcuts, unfortunately. So doing things the right way, as I said, is important, and
It's crucial.
and it's critical for all of us, and that's how we do our jobs as well.
Yeah.
So it's why we make a good team. But that's
I think
just want to
in
stress
the
that.
long run, basically, I think for all of us, it covers all of us. When we're working with you, we want to make sure we're doing such a good job that you can recommend us to grandma, to grandpa, to the kids, to your ex, whoever it is. Basically, we want to make sure that we're doing a great job, that you're recommending us to everybody. That's what we were looking to do. We do have a question. This is for you, Jay. What are the necessary requirements to obtain a mortgage loan for me as a first-time home buyer?
Sure. So what I would normally say, Doyle, is I would email you a list of documents that we need. If you're a W-2 wage earner, right? We would need pay stubs, W-2s, any money that you have to work with as far as down payment and closing costs. We would gather that documentation from you. We would run your credit. And then I would be able to tell you what your qualifications are. The first time home buyer program, just to let you know, you need a 640 credit score or higher. They would prefer you to have 3 trade lines on your credit report, such as trade lines are credit cards, student loans, car payments. They would want you to have 3 trade lines that are at least 18 months old. Depending upon what county you're interested in buying, there's income limits, and it goes by the size of the family. So just for example, in Nassau County where I live, if you're a single person or married, single person or a family of 2, If your income is $150,000 or less, you're going to qualify for a 6.25% interest rate. If your income is over 150 and less than 175, you're going to qualify for a 6.75% interest rate. So it goes by family size, it goes by county. There's a lot of caveats to fit into this program. Where would you be looking to purchase, by the way, if you don't mind me asking?
Do you have like a county that you're specifically interested in, like Queens, Brooklyn, Long Island, outside of New York? Just if you want to put that in the Q&A section, or if you want to put that in the chat, feel free to. Anybody else who has any questions, there's a Q&A on the bottom of your screen. For those who are looking on your computer, there's a Q&A button. Just click on that and just type in your questions. While you guys are typing your questions, I have questions for both of these gentlemen. Give me 3 things that buyer or seller need to look in based on the professional they're hiring. What are the 3 things that you would say?
Reputation, responsiveness. I don't know. I'm gonna say friendliness, if that makes sense.
Yes.
You gotta be able to talk to people,
Yeah.
good or bad. Listen, there's a lot of questions I get. Some people say, oh, these annoying questions. They're not. Any question is important. And I put myself in the client's position.
Yep.
My father was a New York City police officer. You know, someone buying, first-time home buyer, I get that they've never done this before.
Yeah.
I may do it 1,000 times, they don't. So
This is their first
being
time,
able
second time,
to put yourself, empathy, I guess, putting
Yeah.
yourself in that position. And I don't think a lot of attorneys can do that, and that's important. So those are the 3.
I like that.
Thank you.
Same question.
I would say, for mortgage purposes, the most important thing is you have to get things in writing. Anybody could quote an interest rate over the phone. I'm going to just give you an example. I spoke to a guy in Washington. He's refinancing an FHA loan. Now, we all know where interest rates are.
At the time of the recording.
He told me he's getting a 4.5% interest rate. And I basically told him right out, I said, look, that rate does not exist. And he actually challenged me. He says, Joe, I have a loan estimate in front of me. I says, would you send it to me? He goes, absolutely. He emailed it to me. The loan estimate had a 4.5% interest rate. It also had a 4.5% loan origination fee.
Okay.
A $270,000 loan amount. He was being charged about $13,000. So I said, look, John, I said, I really appreciate you sending this to me. Here's what I'm going to tell you. They can't do this loan for you. He says, what do you mean? I says, they're charging you 4.5% on a $270,000 loan amount. They're not allowed to do that. There's a high cost factor. So look, at the end of the day, it's all about getting something in writing. Anybody could promise you an interest rate, but I'm going to say in front of these 2 gentlemen, and they're going to agree with this, it's not about the interest rate. Everybody wants the best interest rate. It's about getting the deal done. And there is a possibility that somebody can give you a better interest rate, but that shouldn't be the sole focus of the transaction. It should be feeling comfortable that you're getting a fair deal and that you're getting the right deal. That's what I'm going to say.
All right. So the first one basically said, I heard feeling comfortable. That's one. And getting everything in writing.
Getting something in writing.
So what would be your 3rd one?
Do it.
Well,
yeah.
Well, look, here's one other thing that I want to say that I do at Contour, which works out very well. Joe, I already have a pre-approval from another bank. I really don't want anybody running my credit again. I don't want too many inquiries on my credit. Perfect. Here's what we could do. We can gather your documents. We could do a soft pull on your credit report. What's a soft pull? We only look at one bureau, Equifax, and there's absolutely no impact to your credit score. You won't even know that we ran the credit. And that will give us your credit score, and it'll also give us what you have on your credit report. How does that sound? And that's what I normally do for people, just to give them a second look to make sure they're making the right decision.
All right, I'm looking at the clock. We literally have 1 minute left. So I'm gonna ask, well, but pretty much, I asked you guys the question. So the three things I would say is, for me, if I'm a client, I want to make sure that, like you said, friendliness, that basically they can answer the question, they're patient with me. Um, I'm looking for the expertise, because I gotta see, I don't know what I don't know
Mm.
as a client. So I'm looking for your expertise to show me basically what are my options. And those are my three basically. For you guys, basically, there's a lot of questions you might have. We don't have the time to answer all the questions in this format, but we just wanted to put this out there just to help start the dialogue.
My threes are experience, accessibility, and your gut feeling.
Yeah, well, most of you guys are New Yorkers, so I like to throw that out there. I'm a New Yorker. You trust your gut. You can
Gut feeling
smell,
is important.
yeah, you can smell when something's
Do a
not
lot
right.
with that,
Yeah, so basically, it hasn't led me wrong in my over 50 years. I can't believe I said that out loud.
You did.
Over 50 years of on this planet. So pretty much just go with your gut feeling. Reach out to people, get recommendations also. And with that being said, we can stay on here for a few more minutes. If anybody has any questions, go to the Q&A section, click on that and just put your question in there, or raise your hand, ask some questions. If not, we're going to wrap up in a few minutes. But if you need to reach out to Anthony, how can I reach you?
Anthony W. Russo, awrussolaw.com, awrusso@awrussolaw.com, and my phone number is 516-312-7249. That's my cell.
All right. And Joe?
My cell's always the best number. It's 516-455-2157. Joe Castagna.
And you guys can find me on pretty much all the social media platforms. Most of the platforms, it's Evantz sells homes. And my cell phone, which is always with me, I'm recording off another one over there, is 917-975-5985. As a New York, I do talk too fast. I gotta slow down.
So
So
we all do.
I know, 917-975-5985. Before I forget, we probably, since we're New Yorkers, basically, and there's a lot of people watching this also, languages that your office speaks, if anything you guys want to share.
No, I have someone with Spanish to interpret if need be, but
Okay.
I have someone with Brooklynese.
That's me.
That's me.
That's
Spanish,
three of us, actually.
Spanish, and I actually have a Chinese speaking person as well.
All right, because of where my office is located in the Flushing Bayside area, we speak, I think, 48 languages. So I personally, barely speak English. I'm Haitian background, so I do speak some Creole, and I can understand some French. Don't test me on this, please. That's about it. I might be able to speak a couple words in Spanish, a couple of words, very small. I don't even want to say that out loud. But no, if you have someone basically speaks another language, we can definitely assist you with that. With that being said, I don't see any new questions or anything else. I want to say thank you for your time. This is the first of the series that we're doing. The next one that we'll be doing next month, which the three of us will be doing, is for teachers and educators. So if you want to tap into that one, we open it for everybody to come be a part of. If you have questions or whatnot, feel free to let other people know about this. This will be saved and emailed to you shortly, and also be on my YouTube and on our websites and their websites as well. With that being said, I'm going to let you guys give us some words of encouragement to people who are watching this.
Thank you. It's a tough process, but with good people, you'll get through it. So
I would say do whatever you can to own a home. It's the best way to build wealth and create wealth for your family.
And for me, basically, if you're buying a home or you're buying a second home, or you're deciding, all right, now's my time to buy my investment property, or I need to sell this property, life situations happen. I need to sell this house that I inherited. Let's have a conversation. There's a lot of hard things happening in life, but until we have this conversation with others, basically, we can probably help you, maneuver basically where you need to be and stuff like that. So seek out the help. The whole purpose of these videos is pretty much to help as many people as possible. Some people are shy to ask questions, but ask the questions basically, and we'll see if we can help you. With that being said, I'm Saint-Gerard.
Anthony Russo.
Joe Castagna.
Thank you for watching. Talk
Thanks,
to you
Evans.
soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.